What is God's calling? In Genesis chapter 12:1, Abram experiences the call of God. The Lord had said to Abram, "Leave your country, your people and your father's household and go to the land I will show you." Most people may think that Abram obeyed smoothly with a single call and went on to Abram's own path which God tells him in response to God's call. But that's not the case. When God calls someone, he works in advance in the context of his home and life. They have prepared a way for us to respond more closely to God's call and move forward. Of course, there are cases where you sing in a dramatic environment, but there is also God's will to allow the environment. Just by looking at Abram, we can see that God reappeared in Genesis chapter 12:7. After that, God wanted to change Abram's name over a long period of time and change his whole life. He had to be a man whose history was reflected by God's touch, which God wanted to use as a tool, not his own life. I'm not talking about this today. God's calling is not a one-time calling in the process of dealing with us. We want you to create an environment like Abram, prepare in advance so that we can actively respond to your call and repeat it again and let us know. But what do you think? The fact is that there are far more people who try to turn a blind eye because they are so burdened and courageous by the call. In addition, it is the number of days to avoid God being bound by life and environment weighing the conditions here and there. But one of the things that we need to know is that we call more people of God when we are young, when we are not more bound by life like Jesus' disciples, than when we call them old like Abram. Some people experience calling as children. Another thing I'm going to talk about today is that there are many different kinds of invitations. Just because God calls me and meets me doesn't mean everyone has to go to the seminary. Many people are confused and deluded in this part. Most of the religious people in the church and those who experienced it for the first time while attending the church think about theology more than once. But most of them are not theology or the calling of pastors. It takes a long time to find your way. It takes more time to discern God's call, but the response is short enough. But that will have to continue.